All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my talk on NgRx anti-patterns. My name is Reid Villeneuve. I'm a developer here at Bbug Software. Bbug Software is a learning-rich environment where we're all encouraged to pursue things such as talking in front of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 1 million people. Yeah, it's about 1 million of you out there, about 1 million. Yeah, so what are we here for, you know? So I would say this talk is all about protection. No, it's about job security. No, even better. It's about career immortality, right? Yeah. So I'll be pretty much preaching to the choir here, right? It's going to be straight to the point, and it's going to have absolutely no gimmicks. So on a completely unrelated note, I've got a surprise for you all here. It's your special guest and co-presenter. Sorry, Frosty, I didn't have time to bring this by you, but I want you guys to welcome to the stage my good friend, Oscar, or I like to call him Little Oscar. Hey, wake up, Little Oscar. Yeah, that's right. Jeez, welcome to the world of the living, man. Hey, say hello to all the people out there. Hello, Oscar. So Little Oscar, he's a sentient alien emoji that lives inside my computer. That's pretty convenient, right? Right around the time we had a space-themed conference. Nice. So Little Oscar, you know, we're gonna talk to these folks about some NgRx anti-patterns. What do you mean they're in for it now? I mean, are you getting ready to call me out in front of 1,500 people? Yeah, you heard me. 1,500. Jeez. Oh, no, I see what's going on here. Look, he can't see you all because the camera is pointed at me, but he can hear you through the microphone, right? So come on, everybody. Show him that you're here. Let's make some noise. Woo! All right, yeah. All right, no pressure, man. Anyway, we're here to talk about NgRx. So, Little Oscar, can you tell these folks out here a little bit about this technology? Oh, you got it. You got it? Okay, good. Well, all right. Go ahead. Lay it on us. Oh, come on. You know, calm down here, man. Jeez. Ugh. But ultimately, I guess we don't really have time to go over all of NgRx, so it's kind of hard to see you guys. So show of hands, how many of you use NgRx on a daily basis? Okay, so that's less than half. You know, that's all right, because what I'm going to do here is for any NgRx related things, I'm just going to give a good 10,000-foot view, and hopefully later on, when you are using NgRx on your day-to-day, you'll kind of recognize some of these opportunities I'm about to present to you here, right? So, speaking of that, I guess it's time to stop beating around the bush, right? You've all read the description of this talk, haven't you? And you're all here at ng-conf, right? So that means you're the best of the best, right? And as the best of the best, hey, you guys know that NgRx, it's made our lives absolutely, positively miserable, right? Oh, man. Heck, in the world of PR reviews and opinionated frameworks, man, confusing state is one of the very last things we had in order to make sure they're not replaced by any regular old Angular developer off the street. And what's the matter, Little Oscar? What do you mean? I told you I wouldn't do this anymore. I'm just kind of building rapport with the audience here, right? Yeah, we all know that it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and the only way to survive is to pretty much... Oh, come on, that's just rude. Calling me out and making me look bad before the thing even starts. And by the way, when did I say anything about a team? Keep it to yourself, man. This guy, am I right, people? Anyway, know your enemy, NgRx, and what it brings to the table. So, Little Oscar, can you tell us what NgRx brings to the table? Oh, you give me the silent treatment. Nice. Okay, fine. I'll just do it myself then. So, yeah, all right. So there's actually just 3 little points I wanted to make here, right? Just 3 little points. I'm just going to list them out here, and we'll kind of go over them one by one a little better as we progress through this here, right? So point number 1, it uses opinionated recognized patterns. Number 2, it enables easy shareability between components. And, of course, it uses the power and flexibility of RxJS and state management, right? So now we know what we're fighting, right? So what are we going to do about it? Well, as you know, the best way to defeat your enemies is to utilize your allies. Oh, the anti-patterns. So, hey, Little Oscar, I'm sorry about before, man, right? Look, I need you here, man. I can't do this without you. Come on, are we cool, man? Are we all right? Ah, good, okay, there's my little buddy. Well, all right, Little Oscar, so what do you think? Why do people like the fact that RxJS uses opinionated recognized patterns? Oh, they could be confident and rely on established patterns. All right, well, I could see why that would make people happy, but how is that going to help on their day-to-day? Oh, okay, they'll know exactly where stuff is without even looking. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, on projects I've been on, I've noticed that project to project, you'll see almost the same exact patterns, right? And I've even seen patterns persist between completely separate companies. Huh. Man, well, that's a pain, right? So what are we going to do? How are we going to defeat that? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to use NgRx effects excessively. That's right. NgRx effects, it's a library typically used for handling stuff like side effects. It's powerful, though. It can do way more than handle side effects, right? So that's why if we do things outside of the scope of side effects, then no one will have any idea where anything is at all, right? So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about here, right? So what we're looking at here is a typical example of a derived state, which basically means that we're getting data that we don't really store in the state object, but we can determine it through what we do store, which in the case of this snippet here is all the entities in memory, as well as the currently selected ID, with the ID being something like a UUID, a string, a number, whatever. Right? So we're looking at this snippet, let's see what they did here. So they're creating a selector, right? So for those of you who don't use NgRx, a selector is just a way you can kind of pluck some data out of your NgRx state, right? So they're going to create that selector, right? And they're going to use actually a different selector here called select entities. That means they're going to get all of, like I said, the customers in the memory right now. And they're also going to use a separate selector called get selected ID. That's them getting the UUID or string or whatever of the customer they want to have, right? And then they're going to provide this callback here, right, where they're going to pretty much take the customers and select ID. They're kind of provided in the arguments of the callback there. And you can make it so your entities are keyed by their ID, right? So you could just simply use the square bracket to select that, right? So that's well, definitely those of you that use this often know that this isn't anything special. I mean, this is just what you do. You use selectors to get data out of your state, right? So I'm not saying anything unusual here, right? This is memoized. You've heard the word memorized a few times already, right? I mean, so when you have to call this multiple times, you'll find that it doesn't have to go through all this rigmarole to get this data. If the state hasn't changed recently, it's just going to use the cache value. This is very terse. I mean, look, there's not really like a whole lot of calculation going on up there or anything, right? All that's handled kind of in the background for you, right? And finally, it's parsable at a glance if you use NgRx a lot, right? I mean, we just read it like a book, right? Left to right, top to bottom, like a book. Easy peasy. And in fact, maybe a little bit too easy peasy, right? Because hey, if I have a coworker, they're going to be looking at this, they're going to be like, I like that. I can totally see what's going on here. In fact, I don't even need Reid to tell me what this thing is doing. So we don't even need him here. That's what's going to happen, right? So we're going to give this a bit of a refactor, right? We're going to tear this out of our files with all our selectors. We're going to throw it into our effects, right? And we'll have what we have looks a little something like this here, right? So how shall we do this? Well, let's just say that this effect here, what it has to do is it has to sit there and wait for a select customer ID action, right? We're going to pipe into that, right? We're going to use a switch map operator, which, by the way, we're going to talk a little more about that later, right? And then we're going to pipe into the store and use the get by ID selector. We're going to pass in the action payload ID because it's parameterized selector, right? And then we're going to then send out a customer selected. Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't use NgRx, how many of you are following me here? Oh, one of you? Okay, cool. Good. I like that because that means that us making more moving parts is working. Good job, man. Not only that, this is not memoized anymore, right? So that basically means if your app is starting to get a little non-performant, then you can come back here and fix this, right? Change it back to a selector, and man, you look awesome then, don't you? And like I say, this was just one example. This is a powerful library. You can move lots of stuff into your effects files, right? Now, when I say that your effects files become very large and arbitrary, how large and arbitrary are we talking here, right? Like, how big can we get our effects files? Bam! Oh yeah, that's what I like to see. Woo! Oh, boy. Oh, a little bit of a tip for you here. If you want to reach this level of greatness, maybe try and start a little small, right? The only kind of people that can handle this kind of stuff are professionals, like me. All right, so next up, Little Oscar, you're exaggerating. Come on. What do you mean you don't think you can do this? I'm not outshining you by that much. Come on, tell these people why anyone would want easy shareability between components. Oh, it allows for simple data synchronization utilizing the global state. Huh, global state, huh? That doesn't sound too bad. I mean, that's like a global variable, right? Yeah, you're calling it a vulture. Jeez. Still, though, I guess that the NgRx state is immutable, right? And well, not only that, changes are easily trackable via stuff like the Redux dev tools, right? So that's a powerful foe indeed. So what's our ally against this foe? Well, if we put our state within our component modules, it's going to help us write by this. And the way it does that is because if we co-locate state and component modules, it makes sharing easier, right? Now, just think about it. I mean, just kind of think about that, right? I mean, we have all our actual components, right? They're in their little dark corners holding tightly onto their templates, right? They have their styles in here, completely separate and isolated from each other. Unlike our state, right? State's on its own folder. It's in its little grassy green fields, right? So if we kind of start to take those and pull them into our nice, dark, isolated component folders, then that kind of sends a bit of a message, right? Don't worry. I'm not just telling you simply to move folders around here. I'm saying you can totally nest you can combine your component modules and your state modules, right? Think about that. If you have component A needing something from state B, and component B needing something from state A, you've just played your card right. You've created a circular dependency. So, next up we got, whoa! Little Oscar, you're in the way. Oh, I'm a monster, am I? Hey, guess what? That's what my HR department told me, and you know what? I didn't care what they had to say either. Well, all right, you know what? If you're not going to be helpful, you're going to be gone. Eat creepy clown attack. Sure showed him. Right? Yeah, whatever. You know what? You pretty much have to be from a completely different plant to be that naive. Well, RxJS, all right, so we know it. It's powerful, and you know what? It's in our way. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we're always going to use the FOTM operator. So yeah, in the green, yeah. Have you used the FOTM operator before, right? Well, you've not used the FOTM operator. Brian, right? You've used the FOTM operator. You've not. No way. Well, you know what? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've used the FOTM operator. No one? Oh, you know what? I bet all of you have used the FOTM operator, right? Because that is the flavor of the month operator, right? Yeah. So, how many of you remember this here, right? This is Victor calling out what was, at the time, quite an overusage of the switch map operator. Y'all remember that, right? This has sort of created sort of an anti-switch map movement, right? And by the way, Victor, thanks a lot. You're kind of pulling out the rug from under me here, man. Ugh. But you know what? If this is so well known, then how are we going to get our switch map through our PRs, right? Well, don't worry. We have the entire community on our side for this one, right? That's because whenever one FOTM operator leaves the scene, the next one comes in right behind it, right? And you can then use that operator, and your PR is going to be accepted pretty much instantly, right? So, wait, that's great. That's great and all, right? So, I mean, how does that actually help us? Well, obviously, if we don't use all the operators on our tool chain here in our tool set, then our bugs will arise, and then we can come look good by coming back and saving it, right? And you've heard me say a few times that we can come back and save our code base, right? Look, I'm not advocating destroying code bases here, right? Because you guys already know this, right? I mean, the quality of the code base, it's completely irrelevant compared to us looking awesome, right? So a little pop quiz here. So what's going to happen if we change our operator here from switch map to exhaust map? Well, let me show you. Hey, it actually went over there. Okay, so so what we got here is we've got a nice little effect file, right? And we've got our switch map on there, right? Our evil switch map. And we've got a demo here that just has a bunch of names. How do you like the styling of this, by the way? I spent so much time on that. So let's just go ahead and type in a name here. Let's use my boss here, Jesse, right? Yeah, I think that looks good. Don't you think that looks good, y'all? Yeah, I think that looks really good. So let's go ahead and now let's make that change to our exhaust map here. So I guess I can actually see a little better if I do this. So HAFOTM. Gotcha. Okay, so we made our change here, and let's go ahead and try this again. Here we go, JES, and wait a minute, what happened there? Why did that happen? Maybe it just happened for a reason, like JES? Oh, well, that's weird, isn't it? Well, look, That happened because, long story really short here, switchmap cares about the latest thing you type, that is. It cares about it so much it actually cancels out any pending requests, right? That's the reason why it glitched programs out. Exhaustmap only cares about the earlier things you did. So the only thing that our input got there was just the J. I definitely recommend looking this stuff up here. I mean, knowledge is power, right? I mean, you want to use all your tool sets. Look, if these RxJS guys can use all the tools in their tool set, then so can we, right? Oh, and by the way, speaking of Brian, I highly recommend looking up his presentation called Mastering the Operators. That's on our YouTube channel. It's some good stuff, kind of get you some stuff that you need here, right? So, you know what? I guess we covered pretty much all three things here, didn't we? Huh? I'll tell you what, though, it sure is lonely up here by myself. Little Oscar? Hi, little Oscar. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry about what I was saying before. And you know what? It's all right, because what if I told you, right, that we're actually secretly sending a positive message here, right, by using reverse psychology? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've been using reverse psychology this entire time. Oh, yeah, boy. So anyway, y'all obviously, I'm playing a character here, right? Please don't actually use these things in production, okay? I figure this is a good way to kind of just simply raise awareness and sort of a different way of thinking, right? But it's also really important to note, too, that if you see folks using anti-patterns, they're not being evil, they're not being malicious, right? A lot of the times they just don't know any better. They've never been told any better, right? And I've seen all of these here in Stack Overflow. I've seen them in Stack Overflow, right? So, I mean, you saw how many hands didn't go up when I said how many of you are using NgRx, right? So just keep that in mind. And now, hopefully, with the knowledge you gain about anti-patterns and what you lose by using them, then maybe then you can kind of give them their little moment, right? So I'll make a few little call-outs here. So this entire thing was actually sort of inspired by CGP Gray's 7 Ways to Maximize Misery. It has absolutely nothing to do with programming. I just really like CGP Gray, so I just thought I'd give him a call-out here, right? If you liked these little backgrounds I'm using, we have a coworker called John Rista, and that dude's a genius. Man, he's a genius in both programming and astrophotography, and that's good stuff, right? And finally, I just wanted to thank Brian here for letting me copy and paste his entire article in Little Oscar's little spiel there. And that's pretty much all I got for you.